Things that make me sad. News breaking 2 minutes after a show. Things that make Kratz dance, which is why some people watch the show, I kid you not. News breaking minutes before a show.
Finally. Yeah, finally we have a Nolan Arenado trade, which was supposed to happen last year.
Let's hit it. Let's hit it as soon as we can so we can just get right into it.
Charging the mound.
He gone. If you're a Cardinal fan, Nolan Arenado is, listen, been a really nice player for a long time. People are starting to wonder whether he's on the decline, but the Arizona Diamondbacks don't believe so. Now, they didn't give up a ton. Jack Martinez, right-handed pitcher, but I think the Cardinals are eating
31 out of 42.
Out of 42 million owned, so they
over 2 years.
They just kind of wanted him out.
Mm-hmm.
And there he is. So the Cardinals save some money. Jack Martinez gets to go to the Cardinals, and there you have it. So 31 of the 42. Okay.
But for Arizona, in baseball money, that ain't a lot. $5 million this year and $6 million next year.
For a guy that's still productive. Defensively, he's still good, and offensively, he's still productive. Bless you, Scott. But he's not – listen, he's not the Nolan Arenado that we came to expect for about 10 years. But he's still a good player.
He can still pick it at third. He's not.
He's not as good as he was.
No, but he's still, an above-average defender and close to league average bat. So that's what that gets paid on the marketplace. Diamondbacks were in the running, and we don't know how much, but in the running, at least to some extent, for Alex Bregman, and we quickly see this pivot, Kratz, to go get themselves a third baseman who is super well-respected, wants to play every day, gamer, will set a great tone, and join a very talented infield. One of the best infields in baseball, in my mind. Perdomo was a top 5 MVP finisher last year, and Ketel Marte is arguably the best second baseman in baseball.
They're tremendous up the middle. Let's make sure everybody knows that Nolan Arenado is going to give the Diamondbacks everything that he has. How much is it? You never know. Look what George Springer did this year. Everyone was like, decline. He signed that contract with the Blue Jays. He goes into a different lineup. Who was protecting him in the Cardinals lineup? Was he expected to be the guy in the Cardinals lineup? Yes, I get it. Contreras was there. But, he has a little bit more around him. Perdomo put up the year that he had. Offensively, he took giant leaps last year. Ketel Marte is an MVP candidate. I think Corbin Carroll, if he takes away a month and a half of the last 2 seasons, he's an MVP candidate. So now all of a sudden, if you have Nolan Arenado hitting 5th or 6th, there's a lot less expected of him. I guess this is the player side of me, thinks, why not? Why couldn't he be, he was a little bit above average offensively. Why couldn't he be, a 110 OPS plus, 115 OPS plus with the same defense? Because I don't think his defense is going to decline like crazy here. And he knows the National League West.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He wasn't league average last year. He was 87 OPS plus. So it's not about who was hitting behind him. The problem is when the Cardinals got Nolan Arenado years ago, what year was that? 2021. They got him after the COVID year. He was good. He was really good. He was a 151 that year. Or 119, 21, 2022, he was a 151 OPS. And then he was 108. And then 24, he was 102. So the numbers have kind of slowly gone down a little bit. And then last year, he was an 87. And he only had 12 homers. The problem with him, and the Cardinals people say it, is he's lost his power. He'll hit you some singles, but he has no power. So you throw him into this Diamondbacks lineup. He doesn't strike out a lot, which is nice for the Diamondbacks. He does take his walks. He puts the ball in play. He's not a ton of a high OBP guy. His defense will be solid. And if you put him in the 5, 6, 7 range in that lineup, I think he'll be fine. I think especially going to Arizona from St. Louis, which, listen, Arizona's a better place to hit than St. Louis. Power might go up a little bit. He gets some games in Colorado. He gets some – I think this is a nice move for the Diamondbacks. Listen, they were allegedly rumored to be in on Bregman. They clearly weren't going to the numbers that Bregman got. So this is not a bad fallback option for the Diamondbacks. It's only 2 years. I
agree. I think that's fine. I feel like we actually called this one out. We were like, yeah, if you get him for – don't know, $3, $4, $5 million.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, this is still a productive big league player. He's not a star anymore, but this is a productive big league player with a lot of dirt in his spikes who knows how to win some ball games. We got a super chat here. Heim is cooking for us in St. Louis. This is from Brandon. I'm ready for JJ Weatherholt at third. Sucks we're going to lose Brendan Donovan too, but opens up second full time for Nolan Gorman. Thank
Where's
you for
Donovan going?
the super chat. We don't know yet. Actually, perhaps the shirt I'm wearing today.
Giants?
Perhaps splash hit territory Giants respond.
But the question for me is Donovan was supposed to be traded a long time ago.
Do you know
we
why
all
he
thought
hasn't
Donovan
been?
would be traded before Arenado.
Ketel Marte was supposed to be traded.
Gone too, but then they pivoted and said, "Oh, we're keeping him. We can be pretty good."
Teams are stingy with their prospects.
And teams are stingy with stars too.
Mm-hmm. I think Donovan's going to get traded because I think there are going to be enough teams that feel like they didn't do enough. So, I mean, I think the Red Sox could be in play for him. I think that we've already heard about the Royals, the Giants. There's another team that I'm missing. Mariners, yes. So there's a market there. And good for
this
Chaim
is what
Bloom.
Chaim Bloom is good at.
What?
I will give Chaim Bloom credit for this. I mean, remember he had to trade Mookie Betts.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he didn't, although the return wasn't that great for what he got from Mookie Betts, but he's very able to find in places to send guys that other times they don't think they're tradable. Like Mookie Betts, he got traded. He has now had to trade Arenado right on the job, right? He traded Sonny Gray. He traded Wilson Contreras. These are all guys that had no trade clauses, and he convinced them all, like, hey, guys, we're not going to be very good. You guys should all get traded. Mm-hmm. Now, Gray and Contreras both went to the same place in Boston. Arenado goes to the Diamondbacks. It's fascinating. Chaim Bloom is I love Chaim Bloom. We had him on at the winter meetings. He's awesome. I think he's great at making these moves. Now, the question for Chaim Bloom is, can he take it to the next level and actually build a winning roster and then be able to oversee it once they get good?
It's a copycat league. The Cardinals want Chaim Bloom to do exactly what he did with the Red Sox. They're like, yep, look at that core. That's what we want. Go figure that out for us. And that's what he's working on.
Yeah. That's infrastructure. And I think the Red Sox, so I was there in 21, and I saw some of the changes that he made, changes that he was very surprised coming from the Rays. Wow, the Red Sox don't have this. Wow, the Red Sox don't have this analytics system. Yes, they had their own analytics system, but they had, it was very private to the coaches in front office. And the players are like, I want it. Other teams are getting this. And so he started kind of developing that infrastructure change. That's all we've heard about the Cardinals. For 20 years, they've kind of been like, hey, we're successful. Why do we need more of this? Why do we need more of that? And then all of a sudden they woke up and they were 8 years behind. Knowing some people from behind the scenes in the Cardinals, they were years behind on some of that stuff because they had certain things established in the big leagues. The minor leagues were just like, okay, we'll just keep status quo. So he has to change that infrastructure. And what people need to understand too, he's been at it for a year. Talking to Chaim outside of the show, because I wasn't on the day that he was on, there's been a lot of change that's already like, hey, you know what? We can keep some of these coaches, but we need to add more in this area. We've seen success added in this area. And so for me, if I'm a Cardinal fan, I say, heck yeah, it's Chaim Bloom. Heck yeah, we got all this money off of our roster. It's almost like getting free agents. Like they freed up this money off the roster, and I don't think the Cardinals are going to spend it. But I think Chaim Bloom, his one chance of setting an organization back on the right track was with the Red Sox, and you look where they're at now.
Yeah.
They're making less money this year too, the Cardinals. They're part of that TV
They are,
bonanza.
but the one thing about the Cardinals is they've always drawn really well at Busch Stadium.
Not anymore.
Not in this past year, they didn't. And now this year, they're signaling again they're not going to be any good. Cardinal fans will come out. If you're decent, if you're 500, the Cardinal fans, it's one of the craziest places I ever played. You can be 0 for 50, and they'll give you a standing ovation, and because they're like, oh, well, he'll get a hit eventually. And most teams are booing the crap out of you. There, they don't. Right? But they don't come out if you're not saying you're going to be competitive. And for the last about 20 years, the Cardinals have signaled they're going to be really competitive. And this is the first year where they've really kind of just said, you know what, let's give Chaim Bloom a chance to cook. We're going to trade most of our guys, and we're going to start over and let him build this roster the way he wants to build it. And it sucks if you're a Cardinals fan, but I think you guys have one of the right guys in the right place in charge to help this go faster than some other teams can do it.
Hey, they couldn't trade Nolan Arenado last year, like you mentioned. It took them 15 months to pull this off. Remember, they had a deal to Houston, and they ended up Houston pivoting quickly to Christian Walker. They couldn't find a spot for Nolan.
Paredes.
And Isaac Paredes. Yeah, they added him too. That's true. And then apparently this time around, according to Katie Wu, who writes for The Athletic and is a host now on Dodgers territory, but it is very connected with the Cardinals. She said that the talks this time around were like, hey, we need more flexibility on your no trade list. And in exchange, we will be more flexible about how much money in the contract we eat so that we can make sure a deal gets done. They were not going to go into another season with Nolan there. It's not like he was bad for the club. They just want to move on. They want to get the youth movement going. They want to save money. They're not a playoff team this year. And so credit to both sides for agreeing to make sense, get this done, send him to a spot that he's probably pretty happy with, as we talked about many times in the show. Most guys are
He's a West Coast guy.
To go to Arizona. He's a West Coast guy.
And Arizona, the thing is, when you can live and play in the same thing for spring training and the regular season, and let's not forget, I don't know where Nolan lives in the offseason, if he still lives in California, but if you can move, he can buy a place in Arizona and live there all year round and never have to move, which is one of the huge, huge perks of the Diamondbacks to people. And, it's one of the wonders why Tampa used to do this. Tampa doesn't do it anymore, but that Tampa Bay used to have their spring training right next to the Trop. Now that it's in Port Charlotte, obviously, but if you can do that, it is a huge perk, especially if you want to try and sign free agent guys. The Rays don't do that, obviously, at the same level the Diamondbacks do. But
it helps.
It definitely helps.
For recruiting. And this actually
if I can tell my wife as a player, hey, honey, guess what? You don't have to move for spring training. You don't have to move for the season. You just have to find one place for the whole year or for multiple years. Then you can buy that house and you save the spring training move. You save the spring training money. You save the headache that usually falls on not the player, but the significant other of the player. And the kids don't have to move their stuff. They can go to school year round in one place. It's a huge thing, man.
Yep. Mission accomplished. Hey, if you want more on these deals, we'll have stuff for you. Cardinal territory and Snakes territory. Let's start with Cardinal territory, which features Jim Hayes, broadcaster for the Cardinals for a long time. Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, and Matt Holliday are part of the rotation there. So they'll have an episode out on this deal. They've talked a lot about Nolan Arenado throughout the offseason. That's part of the FT network. And then for the Diamondbacks side, Snakes territory, as you'll get all the latest juice on what's going on with the Diamondbacks, who have had a very interesting offseason, some signings, a lot of activity, like the rumors about Alex Bregman and the pivot here to Nolan Arenado. And now let's get the inside scoop on this. FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal is here. And Ken, we love when news breaks right before the show starts instead of Saturday night at midnight or right after the show. So your thoughts on Nolan Arenado moving over to the Diamondbacks?
When I look at it, I'm actually not that surprised, simply because we know the Diamondbacks were interested in Alex Bregman. We know they were looking for a right-handed hitting corner infielder. And Arenado, from that perspective, makes a lot of sense. So once Bregman went off the board, Arenado to the Diamondbacks heated up, and that is how this came to pass. The one interesting thing about this to me is how much money the Cardinals are paying. It's 31 of the remaining 42 million. Now, some of that is deferred, so the less of a hit to the Cardinals in that respect, because they're going to be paying that out and it's deferred money. But at the same time, the Diamondbacks are essentially getting Nolan Arenado for $5 million 1 year, $6 million the next. In this day and age, that's not very much at all. And the pitcher they gave up was an 8th round pick last year, Jack Martinez out of Arizona State. And he wasn't listed among the Diamondbacks' top 30 prospects. I imagine Chaim Bloom must have liked this kid out of the draft for some reason. So from the Diamondbacks' perspective, it seems to be a win-win. And the Cardinals, as you guys discussed in the previous segment, this is the route that they're going right now. This is the direction that they're in. rebuilding and trying to put together the next great Cardinals team. It's going to be a few years, but as we've discussed before, this was kind of overdue for them. They kind of held on too long, and now it's going to be a crash, and they understand that, but at the same time, this is the way for them in their minds to move forward.
Ken, what can the Diamondbacks fans expect from Arenado? Because we talked about his numbers and how there's people are questioning whether he's slipped or not. And then the other thing I want to know is, how did the Cardinals finally get Nolan Arenado to agree to a no trade, to waive his no trade? Because he fought it like hell last year, obviously declining it. And now this year he accepted the trade to Arizona.
Well, he obviously wanted out too. And he knew that, listen, at some point he was going to have to be more flexible. And you guys mentioned Katie Woo's tweet. She basically said that Arenado was told by the Cardinals, if you're more flexible, we can be more flexible with the money and let's make this happen. And that seems to be the way this came about. And Arenado did not want to go back to St. Louis. It was a tough place for him to hit. Now, how much better will it be in Arizona? I don't know, because here's a guy who's been in decline for a couple of years now, offensively. And can he get it back? I don't know. I don't know how much he's lost. So it's going to be really interesting from that perspective to see what Nolan Arenado still has left. Defensively, he's still really good, maybe not as elite as he once was, but for me, this is a good move for the Diamondbacks. It raises some questions about what's next with them. What do they do with Jordan Lawler? What do they do with Blaze Alexander? Because remember, Ketel Marte is still on the Arizona Diamondbacks. They now have Arenado at third, Perdomo at short, Marte at second. They don't really have much at first base. Pavin Smith is a guy who certainly can contribute there. Do they go out and sign Paul Goldschmidt as well? Because they've been looking for a right-handed hitting first base type. There are a number of those guys still available. So that would be quite interesting if we saw a Goldschmidt-Arenado reunion in Arizona.
Kind of along those lines, you didn't quite hit it for me. What about that money that they possibly could have spent on Bregman? Is this a once-off type of thing when we hear that possibly they are in on Bregman? Is there another player on the market that if they were to make some moves, because they still want their young players to play, like you said, Lawler and Blaze Alexander had a quality year last year. Is that money, do you think that money's still out on the table for Kendrick, the owner?
Not for a player of Bregman's caliber. They are going to do things, and there's not much question about that. They want to upgrade their bullpen. That is the area of focus right now, and it has to be, because if you remember, not only is Corbin Burns recovering from Tommy John surgery, but Justin Martinez and AJ Puck are both recovering from Tommy John as well, and they need help in their bullpen before those guys come back. And with Tommy John returnees, you never know exactly what you're going to get, how long it's going to take them to find their form again. So they're still looking. Are they going to spend the amount of money, Eric, that they would have spent on Bregman? No. But at the same time, they are going to upgrade their roster. They're pretty aggressive about it, as we've seen over the years. And this Arenado move speaks to that.
Ken, you mentioned that they wanted a right-handed hitting, and they're not sure what they're going to do at first base. I'm going to ask this because we've had some questions about Gabby Moreno as a catcher defensively, which that was kind of his thing when he first came up. But last year they ended up with McCann back there a lot more. Would there be some thoughts from the Diamondbacks to maybe move Moreno to a first base position and let him learn there, much like what happened with Wilson Contreras? I know Moreno is much younger and it still has much more upside, but especially defensively. But would that be possibly a thought to help them out if they don't go get somebody?
I have not heard that, AJ. I don't believe that they're willing to give up on Gabriel Moreno as a catcher just yet, but I would imagine teams look at all possibilities. And while this might be, a 5 to 10% right now, maybe it's something in the future. And if they did that, the problem becomes you've got to go get a catcher. Now, JT Realmuto is still out there. I mean, we're just playing connect the dots here. We're not talking about anything that we know to be serious, but that would be one issue with moving out from Moreno, especially when he was so highly regarded defensively just a couple of years ago. I don't know that he's lost it there. So I would expect that that's not going to be the solution. The way it was described to me, This was before Arenado. There are a number of right-handed hitting first base DH types out there, and they can go get one of them, probably at a rate that is pretty good.
Based on what's happened the last 2 days, Bregman, now obviously Arenado, much smaller deal. Is Kyle Tucker's decision looming closer, or is there still another chip that needs to fall before Kyle Tucker says, okay, now it's time?
The Kyle Tucker market is active, and Will Salmon of The Athletic reported on this just today, and he said that the Mets seemingly are in the range of 3 years, 120 to 140 million. That is what sources have suggested to him. And if that's the case, and if that is their range, 120 to 140, then the question becomes, okay, will the Blue Jays go beyond that? Will the Dodgers go beyond that? Will the Mets need to raise their offer? So this particular negotiation, the one involving Tucker with all of these clubs, seems to be coming to a head. I would not be surprised if it was this week, next week, sometime soon.
That's it, Ken. Here's my reaction to what you just said. He was supposed to get four. They were talking 400 or 500 million. Now we're talking 3 years, 120. What? What?
That's what the Mets were talking. I don't know if that's what Tucker is talking, and maybe the Blue Jays or Dodgers are willing to go longer. But you raised a good point, AJ, that the Mets, even being at that level, the level that sources have suggested to Will Salmon, shows you that Tucker and the demand for Tucker is not what we thought it would be going into last season. He's coming off 2 injury-marred years. Not his best years because he has had injuries, nothing chronic, nothing that necessarily people need to worry about, but he's had some things happen. And he hasn't had maybe the production that he had in Houston. So, yeah, I don't know that he's going to get 400. I don't know that he was ever going to get 400. Could he get 300 from a team? Is some team willing to step out longer? Of the 3 we've mentioned, I don't know the answer to that is yes. Now, the Blue Jays would seem to me to be the most logical one to go long because they've got Springer and Dalton Varsho, who are free agents after this season. They are going to need to supplement their outfield in some fashion. But at the same time, they've already signed Okamoto. They've done a number of other things in free agency. They seem to be in a mode right now where they're spending and spending rather freely, but all teams have limits. And is a longer term deal for Tucker where their limit is? I don't know the answer to that, but AJ, you raised a great point. Where is he going to end up when the expectation was so much higher? Now, one other thing, if he does sign one of those shorter deals with opt-outs, he can put together a great year this year and then do what Bregman just did and go out and to the market once again when perhaps he would do better.
Does he need to do that? Is he a guy that needs a prove-it season? He's going to turn 29 here in a couple days. Does he need to prove it? Because we just talked about it yesterday. Teams and agents alike look at the last 3 seasons. He had a OPS plus of 142, 179, injury shortened, I get it, and a 143. Because if he gets this again, like Tucker, like Bregman, like all the guys, Alonso, all the guys, is this a way that owners are really kind of manipulating one more year of you not using your free agency because it's all paid out for all those Boris guys, which you wrote very eloquently in your article?
It's a good question. And I don't know the answer to that, if it's a concerted strategy of clubs to do this. Certainly with Juan Soto, that wasn't a problem. With Willy Adames, it wasn't a problem. Those are the 2 guys who have signed longer deals in the last couple of years, along with on the pitching side, Dylan Cease, Max Fried. But with Tucker, it seems, and we don't know the answer yet because we have not seen the market play out to the fullest, but it seems that the demand for him is not what we anticipated it would be. And there are reasons for that. The performance, what happened in Chicago, where he was kind of playing hurt, but he missed some time, and it just wasn't great. At the end, the first half was amazing. So it seems to me it's what the market for him is possibly dictating right now. And I say possibly because he may end up 7 years, 300. I don't know what the answer is. But Eric, if we see a pattern like this developing, and it continues to develop where teams are trying to squeeze players to go short, and teams have been successful at this with several players in the last couple of years in free agency, then that question would be fair. But you still have longer terms being given out, just not to maybe all of the players that would have received them in the past.
I mean, right so far, the ones Scott Boras has signed have worked out. Alonso, Snell, Chapman, Montgomery, but he got hurt also. So let's not forget he also had the zipper put on his arm. So he's the one guy, but most of them have worked. Almost all of them for Boras have worked out. What about Bo? Bo has been kind of eerily quiet even after the Bregman thing. I know he had the meeting with the Phillies, and he's had some talks, but where does Bo Bichette fit? Because I think if you start looking at teams, now the Diamondbacks got Arenado to fill their infield hole, right? So you start slowly losing teams for Bo Bichette. Where does he fit on a team?
AJ, once again, I encourage you to read The Athletic, and I encourage you specifically today to read the story by
Las Vegas Athletics?
No,
not Sacramento Athletics.
That's not trademark. The Athletic, that is the sports publication that I work for. Matt Gelb wrote today, it was just published this morning, about this situation with the Phillies and how they seem to have momentum with Bichette. And they are a team that is not afraid to go long with players. They're the exception to what Eric was just talking about. They've got a number of players under longer deals, and it's a separator for them. And it looks like it might be a separator for them with Bichette as well. They'll be willing to go 7 years, perhaps, for a 28, 29-year-old Bo Bichette, where other teams might not. Now, will Boston react and respond to losing Bregman by going long on Bo Bichette as well? It's possible, but certainly what we've seen from the Red Sox over the last several years is that they don't like these kinds of deals. And the only one they gave out, Devers, was an overcompensation for losing and trading Mookie Betts. So I don't see Boston necessarily doing it. It's possible. They certainly have a need for that player. They had a need for Alex Bregman. And then you ask about other teams. Could the Dodgers jump in? Could the Blue Jays get back in? Maybe. But if the Phillies are the one team, one of perhaps only a handful, if the only one, willing to go long, then I would expect that they're the favorite for Bichette. And they certainly seem to be motivated to do this. They had the meeting yesterday, but by all accounts, it went well. These meetings always go well. And it goes beyond that. It goes to a team that wants a younger position player star. They've got some older ones still. And a team that, because they've been unable to sign JT Realmuto, might be willing to reconfigure its roster in different ways with Bichette as part of that. So if they get him, they probably almost certainly trade Alec Bohm, and then we see where they go from there.
This is called Inside Scoop, and you're the ultimate insider. So can you confirm or deny my theory that this was a meeting with the Phillies, that the genesis came from Bo Bichette's camp because of the lack of interest, that the Phillies were like, we're done, and Bo Bichette's camp called and said, we'd love to talk to you guys. And they were like, all right, cool. Anytime you get to talk to an all-star superstar.
I don't know, Eric. And I will say this. That would seem to suggest, that theory, that the interest was more Bichette's than the Phillies. And that does not seem to be the case. The interest here seems to be mutual. Now, how it all got started, that I'm not sure of. But as we've talked about, and as Matt has written about in The Athletic, the genesis of this is the Phillies' inability to get something done with JT Realmuto and a desire that they kind of had anyway to do things a little bit differently. Remember, they've had a great team for a number of years now, but they haven't gotten quite to where they want to go. And this last elimination was particularly disappointing. And we've heard really for 2 years now they'd like to shake it up. And this is a good way to shake it up, right? If you bring in Bichette and trade Bohm. So to overstate this coming from Bichette, I think would be a mistake. It seems to me to be mutual. And you're right. Teams will always take meetings. I get that. But this late in the offseason, why would either side want to waste either side's time?
True. All right, Ken, there was a list we showed, and you mentioned him, JT Realmuto. Everyone, I'm assuming, just thinks he's going to automatically go back to Philly, kind of like what the Bregman thoughts were before he signed with the Cubs. we haven't heard much about him and his market. What's his market like? Because he's been a great player for the Phillies for a while now.
That's a great question, AJ, and I'm not exactly sure what his market is. Now, at one point early in the offseason, the Red Sox met with him, but I don't sense that he is a focus of theirs right now. I might be wrong about that, but I don't get that sense. Then you had other teams that if perhaps they traded their catchers, maybe the Giants, if they would trade Patrick Bailey, then they would be a spot for JT Realmuto, but I haven't seen any indication of that happening either. So you wonder, the question is, if not the Phillies, then where? And I've been asking this question in my head for a while. So has Matt, our Phillies writer, so has other people. And none of us have come up with a good answer. Not to say that there isn't a market. There's always a market for good players. There's someone who's interested, but maybe not interested in the price JT Realmuto wants, because if that was the case, he would have gone by now. And if he's waiting for the Phillies to just finally meet his price, I don't know if that's going to happen at this point. We're sitting here on January 13th and they're talking to Bo Bichette.
Last one. Where do they pivot to if it's not JT? Because there's not anybody on the market that's JT's caliber. Do they make a trade? And is there significant interest in other catchers where teams would be willing to get rid of them?
That's another good question. And Eric, Victor Caratini as a free agent is still out there, probably more of a backup at this point in his career. They've got the other catcher machine, or not him, another catcher, the backup that they have, whose name is escaping me right now.
Marchand.
They could also trade for a guy like Ryan Jeffers. And there are some catchers who will be available in trade. I'm sure they can do some things along those lines. But to your point, and you guys know this as former catchers, there is a lot of value to JT Realmuto with that staff in particular. He's caught that staff. They're accustomed to him. They like him because he's one of the best catchers in the game. He thinks along with them very well. There's a real connection between JT Realmuto and a number of their pitchers. So if they do not sign him, certainly there is a loss there, no matter who they bring in. But I'm quite certain they would bring in someone else.
Ken, good stuff. Appreciate it. A lot to go. I think a lot more to go this week. So we'll talk to you later this week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. That's Ken Rosenthal. We had Fair Territory yesterday, and then you'll have another Fair Territory on Thursday. I know a lot of you active in the chat today. If you have questions for Ken, can't emphasize this enough. You can do that on Monday, but really Thursday too is a hot time for Grill and Ken. It's in both shows, but your next opportunity is on Thursday. Hey, make good eats at home part of your 2026 New Year's resolution. HelloFresh is what we're talking about here.
Steak, seafood, whatever options you want. They have stone fruit to corn on the cob. Scott, I know you're a big stone fruit fan. But
hey, you've eaten it all.
I have. I've tried a lot of things, but HelloFresh always delivers. They're fresh, delicious meals that you get to cook. So you feel like you actually accomplished something when you eat them after you're done cooking them.
Over 100 mouth-watering recipes each week. It's made with wholesome ingredients like 100% antibiotic and hormone-free chicken, because when dinner tastes this good, nothing hits like home cooking. Go to HelloFresh.com/FT10FM to get 10 free meals plus a free Zwilling knife, a $144.99 value on your third box. Offer valid while supplies last. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan. Get America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh. Where will Bo go?
Nobody knows, apparently.
The song continues. So, John Heyman tweeted that the meeting went well. When did they not? Bichette admires first-class organization, other pluses, roster, park, Mattingly link, spring proximity to home. Would the Phillies need to deal Bohm, do lesser catcher than JT? Heyman says other Bo suitors, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers, more. What's going to happen here?
Nobody knows.
Bam, 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 bam.
Nobody knows. Even Ken Rosenthal, our inside scooper, doesn't know.
Of course. You know what? I want to cue this clip.
Because my thing is like, okay, the Phillies, they don't have an immediate fit. So it kind of goes back to what Kratz asked Ken, is with Stott and Bohm and Trey Turner and Bryce. Okay, their infield is kind of set unless they make a move of one of those guys. And
They
then
would.
they would, okay, but then so let's say they do sign Bo. They move Bohm, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Then Bo plays third, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. But then you're probably not bringing back JT, so then you got to go get a catcher.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of pieces to this. That's why I asked the other day, where does he fit on teams when you start digging through teams without moves having to be made? And that's where the market is like, it's interesting, especially if he's not going to play shortstop. Shortstop is a different animal, but if he's playing second, it's a different market.
It is. But all of those teams make sense. They just might have to do some maneuvering. On the Phillies topic, the Phillies show, part of the FT network, discussed how this recruiting is being put together by the Phillies organization, and there are always players involved for the superstars, but they might actually be pushing some of their friends out.
I think it was Heyman reported that Phillies players have been texting Bo Bichette
during his wedding.
JT is one of the most beloved guys in that clubhouse, has everybody's back. I can't believe that sits well with him hearing that.
No, well, but I don't know if the players really understand that it's an either or thing.
Yeah,
they don't care about that. They think that there's a good player out there to get. They're trying to go get it. I don't think that that's a decision for them, and I don't think that they really think about that. I know that as when I was a GM, I know that player just wanted more players to play with, to have a better team, and I don't know that they know like all the ins and outs, and it doesn't necessarily. Does it preclude? That's the real big question. If they get something done with him, does it preclude them signing JT? And that's like the bazillion-dollar question, literally, pun intended, because that's going to blow a lot of numbers out of the water for the Phillies as far as their payroll is concerned.
If they acquire Bo Bichette, if they sign him, they likely trade Alec Bohm. And there's a little bit of money savings there. I'm actually still in the camp that money does grow on trees for Phillies owner John Middleton, and that he would bring back JT Realmuto and sign Bo Bichette in the right circumstance. But for more, let's go to our Pennsylvania reporter, Eric Kratz, to get his thoughts. Eric, do you think there is any case where Bo Bichette signs with the Phillies and JT Realmuto also signs with the Phillies, or is it one or the other? JT apparently doesn't have the crazy market out there, and he knows he's towards the later stages of his career. He probably only wants to go to certain places, but it's not like they're about to sign him to $100 million. I don't even think he's getting $50 million. And again, I know this is massive money, but for the Phillies, is it massive money?
When you start talking about that luxury tax threshold, putting them in the 110% threshold, Bohm will be a free agent after this year. I think clearly if something would happen with Bohm being gone, and then you're locking down the left side of your infield, or even Stott's free agency isn't that far away in 2 years. Maybe Bo could move to second. Maybe Stott, who's been versatile, could move to third. I don't know how that works in that sense. But last offseason, all the talk about Alec Bohm could be traded, teams were calling about him. So I think they have a Rolodex of teams that called about Alec Bohm. It wasn't the Phillies actively shopping him. And to me, most likely situation, they don't sign Bo, they sign JT back. Least likely, they sign Bo and not JT. And so in the middle, I would say second place, they sign JT for a 2-year deal, probably somewhere in the 36 range. I think that's probably what, he'd probably like 3 years, 47-ish. I think they don't want to go that high. They don't want to stretch it out too long. He is a catcher. But to me, I think they need him back. Here's my theory. Sign Bo, move Bohm to first for 1 year. Harper caught in high school. Have Harper catch for 1 year. Boom, you got your whole team.
Okay. Now that we're playing Fantasyland, now we're playing Dungeons and Dragons and Stranger Things. Here's why I think the Phillies can sign both. What's happening at the end of this year?
CBA.
What's more than likely going to happen?
I don't think that. Are you going to say cap?
No.
I think
But
the
I think the
luxury tax
luxury
number
tax
will
go up.
Yeah, but I think
The
they're
number
gonna,
will go up.
I
And I
think-
bet you there will be a provision in there. And I don't know this, but this is me spitballing here.
Mhm.
The union will go to the owners and say, it's a new CBA. Everyone gets auto reset for the luxury tax. Because, if you go over, it keeps multiplying, right? So if I'm the Phillies, I say, okay, we signed Bo, we signed JT, we only have to eat it for possibly 1 year. CBA, new one, it reloads the luxury tax numbers, and they're probably going to go up. So Bohm's a free agent at the end of the year, okay? Then they can make some other moves if they have to try to clear some money up if they need to. But for the next year or 2 years, they have Harper, Schwarber. They have basically the band back together, and you add Bo Bichette.
I think the league's going to try and have stricter penalties on the soft salary cap that exists right now. And so there is concern from teams like the Phillies that, who knows, maybe it turns into 150% tax on the dollar and it starts to get ridiculous.
Then you have almost a hard cap, and the union's not going to want that.
I agree, but I mean, just throwing it out there.
There's only certain teams that go there anyways, and then the teams that do go there at times say, oh, we got to reset, so they trade a bunch of guys away, and then they reset, and then they go for it. The Yankees tried it, right? The Red Sox tried it, right? Some of these teams tried it. Now, there's teams like the Dodgers who just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
They're like, we make so much money, we don't care. I like those teams.
Of course. But the Phillies are close to them in that they really go for it, and that's why I think there's
Dave
a world.
Dombrowski has a history of, and we kind of talked about this on our production meeting, is he goes long-term to get these stars, and if he dials in on a star, he goes and gets them. Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, all these guys. Like if he believes in this guy, Schwarber this year, if he's like, this guy's a star and can definitely help us get to the World Series and have a chance, he usually doesn't miss.
He also likes to get things done, and this has been frustrating because it's taking a while for them to figure out the Real Muto situation. Hey, that's JT's right. He's in free agency. Maybe a team swoops in, but I do think they want to start getting a move on finishing up the pieces of their offseason. The Phillies show is all over this story. Todd Zalecki, Jim Salisbury, and Ruben Amaro Jr. And that show's part of the FT Network. They're talking about this topic in depth all week long. Hey, we're ready for our next guest. He is the new manager of the San Diego Padres, Craig Stammen, joining us right now on Foul Territory for the first time. Craig, great to have you on here. Congratulations on getting the role. And how has the offseason, really your life changed over the past month and change?
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's definitely been a life change. I'm a lot busier here in November, December, and January leading up to spring training and planning everything in the off season and planning what we're going to do in spring training. So it's been a fun change though, exciting, put in a leadership role and testing my leadership abilities. So far, so good.
I'm just glad you didn't big league me, okay? Because I saw you at winter meetings and we talked and your family came up to mine and we have mutual friends and family friends. And I texted you, I had to dig through my doldrums of my Rolodex to try to figure out a way to get your phone number. And I got your phone number, and you said that you would come on after the holidays. So I'm just here saying thank you. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. And we were not going to ask you how to split the atom, okay? We might talk a little bullpen or platoon advantages, but other than that, it's going to be all ball, and hopefully you get to have a good time. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hopefully that's a foreshadow of the future that I'm a man of my word. Good managers are usually a man of their word, and glad we could make it work, that we get on the show. Sorry I couldn't make it happen in winter meetings, but all good now.
All right, so let's first get into the transition period and the conversation that you've probably already had a million times with others, but that one moment where all of a sudden it switched from I'm interviewing people to I'm one of them being interviewed.
Yeah, I think, AJ, I should have probably gotten the message a little earlier in the offseason, but he kept prying and without really saying it that he wanted me to be a candidate, just kept asking, do you want to do more? Are you tired of being a special assistant? And my wife and I just talked about it, over the last few off seasons, because there's definitely been a desire to stay in the game and be a part of it in some capacity. And the special assistant role felt comfortable with my family and the situation that we were in with young kids and just being able to get them into school and get them situated back home, get them into sports, all that kind of stuff. And so we just had a lot going on, and it was kind of just a casual no between me and my wife of like, this just isn't going to work. And then when AJ said, no, I really need you to think about this. And if it takes me flying out to come see your wife and answer all the questions and stuff like that, he goes, I'm willing to do that. And that's when I knew he was really serious. And when he was really serious, then I had to start thinking about it and get really serious about it too. And I guess just like sitting down and actually like mapping it out and thinking about it. Do I really want to do this? Is this an opportunity I want to pursue? Hadn't really, I'd lightly thought about it, but not seriously considered it until after those interviews. So, odd timing, I guess, on that end. But I'd spent so much time with AJ and Josh and most of the Padres front office the last 2 years. It was like they'd been interviewing me for the last few years. So, the interview process probably started back when I signed as a minor league free agent back in 2017.
Did you feel like you had the answers to the test already when they started interviewing you? Because you've been through this. So you've sat in those interviews and you know what they like. When Preller, by the way, we call him Preller because there's only one AJ on the show, so don't stop confusing me with him. All right. And by the way, I dress way better also, but that's a whole different topic. Did you feel like you had the answers to the test when they started asking you questions? When they're coming up to you and they're saying, Craig, well, what would you do in this situation? You're like, well, I remember 3 interviews ago we had this candidate. We didn't like that answer, so I'm going to go with the opposite answer. How does that work?
Yeah.
Because it seems like you already know what to say.
Yeah, I could see how you could think that way. I think you could say I had the answers to the test because I've been watching a bunch of games with AJ and Josh and a lot of the front office guys, and we think baseball. I think that's why they hired me, is we think about baseball in a very similar manner. It had not much to do with the rest of the candidates. I think we're all good baseball men that were on all those interviews, and everybody had a lot of good ideas. And I thought like I had some good ideas that I brought to the table too that were unique and different, and thoughts that I'd had even that I'd probably told AJ and Josh already from, just trying to, navigate the last 2 seasons and help our team be the best that they can be. So, wasn't it an advantage? I don't know. I've sat on a bunch of interviews, for different roles. And in fact, like the very first year out of being in the offseason, I interviewed for being the bench coach. So I just try to be myself, be as genuine as possible, be a man of integrity. And, hopefully that shines through on those interview processes. And I am who I am. It's my character, hopefully speaks for itself. And that's, kind of what I try to put out in those interviews.
All right, you've been in it for 2 years in, special assistant role. One of the things we hear about Preller is he can be tough. He can be tough to work with. Do you have a little bit of like a insight into say, I get it, AJ, you're like, he calls you and I get it. You're going to be pissed about this, but let's relax. We set this ahead. Are you the Preller whisperer?
I'm not a Preller whisperer. That's funny. I think that we built a relationship when I was playing. We built a relationship with me as a special assistant. Obviously, it's going to be a slightly different relationship with me as the manager. But so far, it's been great to work with AJ. I've loved playing for him. I love being a special assistant for him. The one thing that it boils down to is he wants to win, and he's going to go for it. And anybody that wants to go for it, I'm all in on that too, because I want to go for it too. That's, us as former players, that's all we ever wanted. Every year we wanted to show up to spring training with a chance to compete for the World Series. And sometimes we fooled ourselves into believing that when we're on teams that, weren't quite ready. But, working for AJ, playing for AJ, and now being a manager with AJ, I don't have to worry about that anymore. We're going to show up to spring training with a chance to compete, chance to win a division, chance to make it to the playoffs. And, what more can you ask from somebody that is your boss and that has been a great GM and is always going for it.
5 minutes of your interview here, I've gleaned the words integrity, the relationships, all that stuff. Any time before you became the manager, because we hear about you're respected by the current players, as a player and then as your role in the front office, you're respected by Preller. You mentioned Josh too. Anytime, was there a moment in the last 2 years where you were like, as a manager, I would have done this differently? Or did anybody come to you and say, hey, as a manager, would you have done this differently? Or as a bench coach, would you have done this differently?
I think we all have our own ideas of how we would do things differently. I think the last 2 years in this role, Mike Schultz has been our manager, and he's a great manager. His track record speaks for himself. Back-to-back 90-win seasons, and before that with the Cardinals, same thing, always taking his teams to the playoffs. So I think more so I learned a lot from him on how to navigate through the season, how to navigate a spring training, how to get your team ready to play and get off to a fast start. So I've talked with him pretty regularly here since he retired, and he's given me some great advice, and he's kind of helped me through this offseason. And looking forward to my next phone call with him to, pick his brain some more and ask him, hey, what should I be thinking about right now? 3-4 weeks before spring training, and what do I got to get the guys ready for? What do I got to get the coaches ready for? So, there's you could do little things here and there differently, but overall, like our team's been in a good spot for the last couple of years, and now it's just trying to get over that hump, get hot at the right time, and hopefully get to the playoffs and be the hottest team at that point.
All right, I have to ask you because this is the one thing when people have asked me, do you want to manage? And the one thing I always think about, and you sat in the bullpen board a lot of your time as a big league player, but when you're in, let's say you guys train in Peoria and you have to drive to, I don't know, Mesa, okay, and watch a Padres athletics game, and you're in the 7th inning, and it's the first week of spring, 3rd week of spring training, and you have all number 89s out there all over the field. Are you going to be bored? Because that's what I think about. Like, I'm sitting there thinking, as a former player, like you were a former big leaguer pitcher, you pitch in the 5th inning. They'd be like, okay, Craig, go ahead and go home. Right? So I'd play 6 or 7 innings. They're like, all right, go ahead and go home. But now you're the manager. You have to stay. You have to take all the buses. You have to do all these things. Get back to the field late at night, and then you have to have the lineups ready. Like, are you going to get bored? Are you worried about? Because that's the one thing that I always thought, like, that would be boring sometimes.
Everybody doesn't know those 89s and 88s and 87s, but not unfortunately, fortunately, the role that I had the last few years was a lot with the player development. And I was able to go down to all those minor league affiliates and see those guys and try to be a mentor to them and somebody that they could count on. And so I know those 87s, 89s, and 90s. And when they're in the game, I'm going to be rooting for them because this is their chance to prove that they can be big leaguers. And to me, that's exciting because we've been pushing, those guys to get better at their game, do this, do that, to make it to the next level. And finally they get their chance to prove it as an 89 and a 90. And it's still a big league game. It's still a big league stadium, a big league atmosphere. And, be able to pat those guys on the back, tell them they're doing a good job. And, that's something I look forward to. It's going to be a fun end of the game. Will it be different? Yeah. Usually you're not staying for a full game in spring training as a player and able to sneak out of there and get 18 holes around, golf in the afternoon. I think as a manager, my golf game is going to suffer in that respect for spring training.
All right. Well, what Craig just said and what he really meant to say was, AJ, you were a superstar and you weren't a superstar, so you appreciate the little people. AJ can't respond right now, so that's good. That's why I said it. But that's why AJ would have hated it. So that's why you're going to be a great manager. Except,
yeah, I feel like I was pitching in those 7th, 8th, 9th games in Mesa against the A's. That was like my jam. I was trying to get out the 89s and the 90s.
you were trying to prove it. You were hanging on. You were grinding. AJ doesn't know about being a grinder. It's okay, Craig. Don't try to. He already had 6 years in the big leagues by the time you first got called up to the big leagues at 25 years old. So that's where he doesn't connect, but you and I, we connect. Except on this part. Can a pitcher, let alone a relief pitcher, be a good manager?
We're going to find out. That's going to be the cool part about it. Us relievers were usually, thrown out in the outfield in the bullpen. We're separate from the dugout. But we've got our own team chemistry out there too. And we've got to be a tight unit out there. We've got to be a unit that picks each other up, holds those inherited runners on the board. And, usually the only thing a reliever gets on SportsCenter for is when you give up a home run. So that's how managers get on ESPN or on TV also, is if they make a bad decision. So I'll be used to that. I'll have to have a quick memory, forget about the tough times and move on to the next day and be the best. So I think being a reliever has shaped me for this position. It's not common in our game, but there's been pitchers that have been in this position. The Brian Prices, Bud Blacks, Roger Craigs of the world, off the top of my head. So hopefully I can carry on their legacy and make all those pitchers and especially the relief pitchers proud.
Okay. Do you think you have an advantage running a bullpen because you were a bullpen guy? Do you think that there will be an advantage to you of matchups and when to bring guys in and who's fresh? Because as a former bullpen guy, oh, I'm available, Skip. I can pitch. I've thrown 4 days in a row, but I'm ready for that 5th day. Come on. So do you think you'll have a better understanding of the bullpen's not only psyche, but when to use guys at certain times?
I should if I paid attention, and knew how I feel and what
But,
a dry hump feels
Craig,
like.
But Craig, although Kratz wants to bang on me, I also know what you guys did because I used to have to go out to the bullpen on days I didn't start and catch. And I know those stupid reindeer games you guys play out there. Okay, we're flicking seeds and we're trying to see who can get it in the cup. Oh, look at that funny looking fella in the hat up there behind me. Like, you guys aren't always paying attention. So that's just, you should, but I mean, I would think roles and how to define them.
Yeah, you were catching behind home plate. Were you paying attention all the time too? I'm sure when you were walking, looking in the dugout, checking out who's sitting in the front row, third row, that kind of stuff. That's baseball. Baseball's supposed to be fun. Those reindeer games are kind of part of it. Hopefully in the dugout, we're playing the game like 10-year-olds and we're playing it the same way with the same energy and enthusiasm that we had as little leaguers. And, that stuff's all fun. And we've got to be able to do that to bring some light to the situation over 162 game season. So maybe I can bring some of those reindeer games to the dugout, but also be ready to lock it in and focus when we need to.
No, position players, they love reindeer games too. Don't let them get it twisted. You guys just pitch in an area. But are you going to have Mason Miller in the bullpen, would it be your objective to say, Mason, can you start some games for us this year? Can you be a starter because we see value in what you could bring every 5 days?
Yeah, I'm not going to put a limit on what he can and can't do. I just know that he's the best in the entire world coming out of the bullpen. And when you're the best, it's hard to take somebody away from being the best at what they're already good at. And we're looking forward to putting him in the game, at the back end for us in San Diego, because he's going to be dominant just like he was when we traded for him last year. And, you got the picture of him, getting ready to pitch for the USA and WBC. I think DeRosa's pretty excited to have him too on that squad. But, we couldn't, if you're making a phone call down the bullpen saying, get Mason Miller ready, that's a good phone call.
You are an ex-player. You understand value. You understand the length of a career. If Mason came to you and said, yes, I want to do what's best for the team, but Craig, I'm seeing what guys are making as starting pitchers and seeing what guys are making as closers. Please give me a shot to start. How tough of a decision is that because you were an ex-player?
Yeah, I think, I think it makes it an easier decision, honestly, because when a player says, I want to do this, that means they're all in. And that means they're willing to put the work in to do it. The trouble is when you get some guys that are like, yeah, I'll do it if you want me to, and you kind of just get that 50-50, feeling from them. But when they say, hey, I'm all in, this is what I want to do. I know I can help the team win this way. I also know I can, help myself, my career, and my family in this way too. You kind of got to side with the player in that and give them the opportunity. And, obviously you give them the opportunity, but you put guardrails around it to protect them. And hopefully that, they have a long lasting career that goes beyond 10 years and play as long as they want to. And they get to retire when they say, hey, I'm done. But I think it makes the decision much easier when a player says, hey, this is what I want to do. And I know I'll be good at it. And in our conversations with our players, we ask those questions and they give us those types of answers. And that's how we make decisions.
Craig, you know how I know Mason Miller's not starting for you guys? Because he's pitching for Team USA. And if he was starting, there's no way you guys would let him go do that, okay? So that's how I know he's not starting for you guys. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, he's going to the bullpen. Because there's no way you guys will be like, hey, Mark DeRosa, you go use Mason Miller for 3 or 4 innings. You decide. Don't worry. We'll be good over here in Peoria playing the Mariners every other day, okay? So as soon as I saw that, I knew. What I want to know is how many of these players, you mentioned your communication with Mason and other players. Have you reached out to all the players, Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts? Have you reached out to these guys, Cronenworth, and had conversations about what their roles are and what you need to see out of them this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been on my phone more in the last 2, 3 months than I think I have in the past 2 to 3 years. Just talking to all the players, talking to all the staff, and trying to create that culture and that attitude that we want to bring to spring training. So far, those guys have been working their tails off this offseason, which has been pretty cool, and I'm proud of what the effort that those guys want to put in and the sting that they felt from losing to the Cubs in the playoffs last year. And so I think that's motivation for them going into the offseason and going into this next season. I think the other part of it is, I've been in the locker room with those guys. I've tried to take this team to the World Series with those guys. They know what it's about. We know what it's about. We know what it's like with each other. And so me being in this seat as a manager is definitely different, but we can also partner together and we can have real conversations about, how to make this team better and how to get over the hump. And they've been great conversations, and the guys seem very motivated, and what we've seen from them in the offseason has proven that, and excited just to see them in spring training and get to prove to the rest of the world that, and show everybody the rest of the world that, the work that they did put in and how they're ready to play this year.
Mine's kind of a two-part question. First, what type of role did you have in roster acquisitions, trades, in your previous role?
With AJ likes to get the opinion of the entire room. So he made all of us within the organization, within his front office group, feel like we always had a voice. I always felt like I had a voice. I could state my opinion, whether it was what he agreed with or not. He would kind of take all that into consideration and then make his decision. So I felt like the curtain was pulled back from when I was a player. I got to see how things were ran. I got to see how AJ likes to think about constructing the roster, and then what he's thinking about at the trade deadline. And I think one of the coolest things and why AJ's so great at his job is last year he was talking about the players he wanted to trade for in April and May, and then traded for those exact same players at the end of July at the August trade deadline. And I asked him, I said, are you always that smart, or does it always work that way? And he was kind of like, some trade deadlines go the way you want them to go. Sometimes there's a few curveballs, and he goes, this one was exactly the way I wanted it to go, and felt like we did a good job. And so just being a part of that, I was quite, I wasn't a part of every conversation or every little detail, but, I had a pretty good synopsis of what was going on with the team.
Do you have a bigger seat now? Do you have a larger say now as the manager than you did last year as a special assistant?
I don't know if I have a larger say. I definitely am in a lot more of those conversations, and AJ and I are talking more often. So naturally he's asking my opinion more often on all those things, and probably know a lot more about the, some of the things that, got down to the special assistants, that weren't, on the edge of decision making. So I would say my voice is similar, but I just know a lot more that's going on.
Okay, can we get Preller to come on the show, please? I've asked him. He says he doesn't watch. Okay, I see him in San Diego. I'm like, hey, we'd love to have you on, talk Padres ball. He goes, well, I don't really know your show. I don't really watch, but I've seen you say like these 10 things. So somewhere there's a disconnect here. So I'd love just to talk to him. I know he doesn't sleep. He doesn't sleep. So I know if we need to get him on at 3 a.m. out in San Diego, when I'm just waking up and he's just now winding down from the game, I'm happy to interview him. So just pass that message along to him from me, from one AJ to another. He's been ducking me for years, so I just love to talk to him. He did sign me one time in Texas, so we do have a little connection.
Yeah, you need to go play some hoops with him. Go play some hoops, build a little.
But I feel like I could post
chemistry.
him up because he's like little, so
you could post him
up.
I
feel like I could just post him up and just back him down like Shaq did to like some of those people. Like I would be Shaq and he would be like Muggsy Bogues, and I just back him up, and layup.
He will shock you at how good he is at basketball. It's surprising. It's surprising. He can play. So, but that's the way to his heart. That's the way to his heart.
Hey, Craig, I want to ask you about a specific player who you've been able to watch for years and might not be a part of the mix for next year. Tell us about how unique Luis Arraez is as a player. It's a name we haven't heard a ton about in rumors yet this offseason, but just wanted to get your scouting report on his value and if you think that advanced metrics are being too harsh on him.
Luis is a great player. He was a great addition to our team the last few years, just in a culture standpoint and even like an attitude that he brought to the hitting group. He was always working, one of the hardest workers on the team, and always caring about his craft. And he takes his craft serious, as we know. We've seen him play, and multiple season batting champ. He brings a unique skill set to the team, a skill set that not many players bring. Doesn't strike out, makes a lot of contact, not a ton of power, but honestly, the last few years there wasn't too many people I'd rather have up at the plate. 2-out situation, runner in scoring position, because he was going to put a good at bat on. You knew he was going to put the ball in play. And he just had a unique ability of just shooting a line drive over the shortstop and scoring that runner from second. So, RBI is kind of a stat that the analytics departments don't value as highly, especially 2-out RBIs. But I think that was his specialty, and he struggled a little bit with it at last year. But some of that was a little bit of bad luck, and some of that was just the state of the seasons. We all have good seasons and bad seasons, good luck and bad luck, and I think Luis is going to have a great season next year. He'll probably be right up there in the batting race and probably win another one here coming up shortly. So he'd be a good addition to our team. He'd be a good addition to the rest of the teams too. He was great for us the last few years in San Diego.
Be careful now, Craig, because you're a manager now, so you can only talk. You can't really talk about So I like what you did there. He'd be great on our team, but also all 29 other teams too. So that was very nice. That was very nice. You're learning manager speak as we go here on the fly.
Learning now on the fly, Jay. Learning on the fly.
I love it. No one ever accused you of not being an intelligent fellow. That's why you're a manager now. Can you guys compete with the Dodgers? The 2-time defending world champions. Everyone knows their payroll. There's a rivalry between San Diego and LA. I don't care what anyone says. If you haven't been to an LA Padre game, there is a different atmosphere, especially at Petco. You guys knocked them out a few years ago. You guys keep trying. You guys keep pushing. I love that going there. Can you guys compete with LA the way your team is assembled right now? And can you knock them off again like you did a few years ago?
Yeah, we're going to compete. There's no doubt about that. We're going to give them our best shot. That's what we'll do every year. That's what we've done every year. They're a great team, 2-time defending World Series champions. They got a lot of great star players, future Hall of Famers. We feel good about our roster too. We feel good about our team. We feel good about the attitude. We've definitely had a lot of battles with them. We know what it's like to play in Dodger Stadium. We know what it's like to play that at Petco and how exciting that atmosphere is. So we're looking forward to those battles this season. They're a tough team. They're a great team. But there's nothing better in the big leagues than playing against the best. It's us against them. We'll stand on the mound and we'll throw pitches and see if they can hit them, and we'll do the same thing. They'll stand on the mound and throw pitches and see if we can do some damage. And then the best team will win. It's been some good battles over the last few years. They got us last year, but hopefully we can turn the tide this year and put our best foot forward against them.
Hey, Craig, I've got one that you can fully talk about nice and easy. Ready? Sung Moon Song signs with the Padres. That's already been official, the whole deal. I think we don't know a lot about him. So this is actually an offseason where there were a number of players coming from overseas, some U.S. pitchers, of course, that went over and then came back, KBO, NPB, etc., many NPB stars. But this is one that I think flew under the radar. And for some reason, the timing of his signing, too, there was just a lot going on. So what can you tell us about him and the role that he'll be going for in spring training?
Yeah, Sung Moon Song, great addition to the Padres. We had a lot of success with his friend Ha-Seong Kim. We kind of know how that process went, bringing Kim over from Korea, and we feel like we can implement that same process with Song. And so he's going to be kind of in a little bit of a super utility role is kind of where we see him. He's a natural third baseman, can play second base. We're going to try him out at first base and left field also. So, he's a left-handed bat. It's going to fit in well. We need to get Manny a DH day or Manny a day off. He can slip right into there to the third, put him in against a tough righty. get some good left-handed bats in. He's a player that's got some speed, also has got a little bit of power that he's shown over the last few years. We feel like his body's transformed a little bit here in the last couple of years. He's got into the weight room. We feel he's very well equipped to make the jump from the KBO to Major League Baseball. And, we're going to try to bank on that success we had with Ha-Seong Kim, and Sungmin Song is going to do the same thing. And we're excited to have him, and just another player, a great player that we got for a very favorable contract that we feel can make a good impact on our team.
Last one from me. Joe Musgrove update. And also update on how you guys, if he's healthy, if he's ready to go on the date that you guys have him ready to go, how far you'll push him coming off of his entire missed 2025 season.
Joe's in a great spot right now. He's been throwing bullpens regularly. He's ramping up for spring training. So far, so good, on schedule with everything. As you know, Joe is, as good of a teammate as you could ever have. He's as hard a worker as you could ever have. Some would say he works too hard, which I don't know if there is such a thing, but he's a leader in our clubhouse, a leader within the whole organization, a leader in the city of San Diego. And so we're just looking forward to getting Joe back on the field. As far as the inning limits go, he's at a stage in his career where I don't think he's willing to entertain any innings limits. But we're going to be very cognizant of his recovery, how he's feeling after every outing. I'm not going to put a number on him. We've seen players come back from Tommy John and go through a full season pitching in the playoffs. Adam Wainwright comes to mind, coming back from Tommy John and then pitching 230 innings the very next year. So no limit on Joe. He's a stud. We're going to take him as far as he's willing to go, and we're going to be smart about it too. So, his inning range could be any number of things, but it'll be more of like a week by week, month by month, start by start process with him, and making sure he's feeling good, and then peaking at the end of the season so that we've got him, for that playoff atmosphere. Because when we get Joe in the playoffs, there's probably nobody better.
All right, before we let you go, I have two more quick ones. One, Yu Darvish update. Where's he at? Because I've seen things where at one point, some people were saying he was contemplating retiring. Do we have a Yu Darvish update?
Yeah, Darvish had Tommy John surgery at the end of the season, so he's going to be rehabbing this whole season. He won't be playing. He won't be pitching. We'll see what that recovery timeline looks like, but he's been around the organization a lot already this offseason. He's got great relationships with some of the pitchers on our staff, especially the young guys like Randy Vasquez. Those two have turned into quite the pair and best buddies, and they're constantly, Darvish is constantly pouring into him, trying to motivate Randy and get him, learning how to do scouting reports the way Yusan has kind of done those throughout his career. So he's a big advantage that we have in our organization. He's going to play a similar role to what Joe did last year, is being around the team as much as possible, be a leader in the clubhouse and mentor those young guys, and try to help us win on the margin. So Darvish is a big part of the Padres still.
By the way, you just need to tell him to throw a slider, because that was his scouting report when I caught him. I'm just going to throw a slider. When I need an out, I'll just throw a slider. So if you have Yu Darvish's slider, you can throw that pitch every time. I
agree. I asked him, I said, why don't you ever throw fastballs 3-0? He goes, well, my slider's better, so I'm going to throw that 3-0, 2-0, whenever, so you're right. Exactly. He just threw sliders.
It was auto slider. When I was catching, I'm like, slider, just put down 3. He'll throw a slider.
Yeah, and he still couldn't hit it.
Yeah, strike everybody out. Before I let you go, you're from Ohio, correct? You're from Ohio?
Right.
Are you a football fan? NFL?
I'm a football fan.
NFL. Who's your team?
The Cincinnati Bengals.
So are you happy that Mike Tomlin just resigned? Or do you want, maybe he could go to Cincinnati and take over the Bengals, because they haven't, Joe Burrow, but they haven't been great.
Yeah, you know what? That's news to me. I did not hear that before I hopped on the show.
Just happened.
But that's
breaking news.
That's big news. That's big news. He's a great coach. If I remember right, he has never finished under 500. That's quite a feather to have in your cap. I think being a Bengals fan, watching them play against the Steelers, you always felt like they had an advantage with Mike Tomlin. But I think the Bengals are in good shape too. Zach Taylor's a great coach. You got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. We get that defense was playing a little bit better at the end of the year. Get a healthy Joe Burrow for a full season. I like the Bengals' chances.
True fan.
That was a good breakdown right there.
It's a true fan right
was
there.
good.
Notice he's like, the defense is getting better. Tail off at the end there.
Right. I got to see this Tomlin news. All right. Well, Craig, this was great. Hope you enjoyed it, man. We really enjoyed the conversation. We were looking forward to it. It's a really cool story. We're excited to see you during the season, too. So thanks for stopping by, man.
Yeah, I love talking baseball with you guys. Thanks for having me on, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, sounds good. Thanks, Craig. That's Craig Stammen, new manager of the San Diego Padres. And much more Padres talk, of course, on Friar Territory, part of the FT Network. Kyle Glazer, there's Mike Cameron on there. Heath Bell, part of the mix as well, among a cast of many others. We'll be right back. I told you we'll be back. BetMGM Futures, regular season win total. Who's this for?
That's for whatever team you want. All right, I'm going to take the Dodgers over 90.5. I win.
Over.
I think the fun part of this.
That's just, you can pick whoever you want.
This is
You
Seattle.
can just White Sox under 90.5.
This is Seattle. I like to get surprised on these, but that was the ultimate
That was an
surprise.
ultimate. Just pick
that was
whatever
the
you
best
want.
surprise of the year. It is the
All
Mariners.
right, let's do this. Pick a team that would be close to 90.5. Cubs?
Mariners.
Mariners? Okay.
That's what we're doing here. They're at 90.5.
The Seaman.
Cubs is good, but Mariners. We're doing 90.5 because that's the actual over-under. 90.5 for the Mariners. Are you going over or under this year?
I'm going under. I'm going 88.
Okay. Explain yourself. Why do you think that they will slightly underachieve?
I don't think that the Cal will have as great of a year. 60 homers is really hard to do again.
Mm-hmm.
Their starting rotation started showing nicks last year of guys going down.
Mm-hmm.
And their offense, I know they brought back Naylor, but they don't have Suarez there unless they re-sign him. But I don't know. 88. Houston, I feel like might be a little bit better. Anaheim should be a little bit better. Texas can't be as bad as they were again.
Why?
I just don't think they will be.
Okay.
And so I think 88 is a good number. And 88 probably might win that division.
That's true. Kratz, where are you going?
I just don't think much has changed in this division. I think the division's very similar. I think they didn't get to 90, so I have last year, and they're all because of the travel, I guess is the reason. They're gonna have swoons where they just crater. Like their East Coast trip last year when I think they came to Philly, Atlanta, played some good teams, but they just lost every one of the games and they look listless. So no, I'm gonna say under. And I think I might actually still pick them to win the division. I just don't think the division's changed that much.
I guess I was going to say the Astros have added some starting pitching depth, but they also are losing Framber Valdez.
Lose Framber. Yeah.
But they also brought in Amai.
Yeah. And
I don't think Christian Walker will be as bad as he was last year. They have a full year with Correa.
But he wasn't bad. He wasn't
Jordan
bad.
Alvarez. Jordan Alvarez won't be out all year.
That's a big one.
Allegedly. So I just think, I don't know. I think there's some hater. Hopefully he's back for the year. Abreu, they make some move. I don't know. I don't know. I think 88 is the number.
Actually, this is the easiest way to put it. I know you're both probably not touching this one among the many others that you really like or don't like, because that's just too close. If Kratz is in that range and you're feeling 88, that generally means look elsewhere. So anyway, let's talk about the Any Sport Parlay Boost token that you can get involved with on the BetMGM app. Players will receive one to start the new year off right. Maybe you used it already, but if you haven't, you can add that wager, and it's got to be any sport wager to a bet slip to activate the token. It doesn't have to be obviously in a particular sport only. You can combine a little football, a little basketball, a little hockey, and if you win that wager with the token, you get extra winnings. That's how the little boost works. You know the deal. Gambling problem or concern, there's help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, we're back.
Battle up.
It's been a minute. Rowdy Tellez is back on Foul Territory. We missed him dearly, or at least I'm going to say that. I can't speak for my colleagues, but Rowdy, I missed you, man. How you been? How's the offseason?
Doing good. Sorry, just
driving home. So
it's a muted Rowdy for now.
per usual,
Rowdy, we might
I'm
need a
not
little unmute action if you're hearing us. Got us now?
Can you hear me?
Nope,
No.
don't have you.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Hold
Maybe
up.
you should pull over.
Hold up.
No,
Yeah,
it's
well, I
a
was
cardigan.
going to.
Thanks.
Oh, man. Actually, this is AJ's favorite Rowdy segment ever so far because Rowdy cannot
Talk.
put a rebuttal together. So stand by. Oh, YouTube's hearing him and we're not. Well, that's going to be challenging.
Interesting.
We don't have him yet. We might need a call out and a call in. Yeah, they said hop back out and hop back in, Rowdy. Up. I started to hear him. Hey, I got him. Rowdy, you got us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Can you
We
hear me?
got you. He's back. Yep, we got you, dude. All right,
Well,
so say everything we missed. All
thank
of your
goodness.
disses on AJ.
I didn't say any dishes on AJ. I did agree with you that this is probably AJ's favorite version of me, is the quiet one.
I just want you to pull over so you don't get into a
I'm
crash.
pulling over
Thank
right
God.
now.
He's pulling over. He's
Well,
getting gas.
This is
yeah.
Texas, so like they're good here.
Yeah,
Minor
no
league
rules.
truck stop. Love it.
No,
All right, what
this
have you
is
been
a
up
show
to,
one.
dude?
This is a Sheets or whatever these are. Wawa.
Oh,
No, nothing.
that's
Just
big
been
show.
just been hanging out, getting my work in, living life. But no, it's been good. It's been a good off season.
Do we have any free agent? Can we get a free agent update before I make fun of your do-rag beneath your camo hat? Before we get to that, can we get a free agent Oh, wow. Headband. I got to keep that head warm. Can we get a free agency update?
I'm not. Kratz would know. We don't have the hair to stop the sweat. So when you do anything like me, if I'm just walking or just chewing bubble gum, I start sweating. So I got to keep it out of my eyes. And to the free agent thing, no, we're still a free agent. We're still working on finding a job for next year.
Rowdy, did anyone see your numbers with the Texas Rangers? They were pretty damn good.
I would think so. I would hope so, at least. But sometimes it's not all what's on the back of the baseball card. So, I'm just again trying to be good and do whatever I can to get myself that job when I get the opportunity. Make sure I don't let it go through the fingers. The old saying, the old stuff.
When you're talking to these teams or when they start calling or if they start calling, do you set like a deadline? Do you set a deadline to say, you know what, if it's just minor league jobs, maybe I'll try Japan, or is Japan out of the question?
I still feel like I can produce and be a good impact in the major league. So for right now, I just want to focus on doing what's over here. But if that's the route that we take, we go over there and we make some money and put up some good numbers and we come back. But I haven't quite dove into that discussion yet with my agents. So, but it's, you hear a lot of good things about what goes on over there for American players or foreign players that go over there. So it's definitely kind of intriguing. You hear a lot of guys want to talk about it, play there a year or two when they're done playing and stuff. But I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Think about the legend that you could become in Japan. Think about, like, you could be the new Mr. Baseball, right? You'd have to shave your beard. You could get the mustache. You could be the next Tom Selleck. But think about you walking up to the plate, because there's not a lot of guys in Japan that are your size. So when you walk up to the plate and you start mashing homers there, you could be a legend in Japan. Not that I don't want you to play in MLB, but I'm just thinking, like, even after, like, you get your 10 years in and you're like, oh, maybe I can play a couple extra years. And you just go over there and start launching nukes over the fence left and right, and they'll have cheers, all kinds of cheers for you.
Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty cool. Like that was like what I was saying. Like, feel like I can still produce over here, and then on the backside get enough time, and you go over there and you play a couple years and get to enjoy it. But you hear a lot of things like that when these players go over there. Like, they love Big Papi, they love the big guys, I guess. And I'm a little more squishier than most, so I think they would really take a liking to that part.
The big Papi and big squishy. I like that. Okay.
Yeah, the big squishy. Oh no! Now see, now you're gonna get that the Texas Rangers team, whatever they were, that radio team. They're gonna start calling me new nicknames now. So
That's so
Yes.
yeah,
that's so last year. But we're talking about next year. Sometimes in the offseason, when you're sitting there as a minor league free agent, big league free agent, looking for just an invite to camp, do you ever get any feedback of, hey, you know what? We saw what you did, the changes you made when you went to Texas, all that stuff, but we didn't like this. Do you ever get feedback, hey, you know what? If you could change this, would that be helpful to you?
I bet you my agents have. I stay a little bit removed from it and just focus on what I can control. But like looking at it and being a self-evaluator, like you got to look at certain things. I think for me it would probably be the walks. I didn't walk a ton. There's something that I'd say if those were just a little bit better, I bet you'd be in a way different position. But as a self-evaluator, you got to look at things and be honest with yourself. And I think that was probably the biggest part of my game that could have used the most change. And I think that's something that this offseason we've done with just pitch recognition, taking BP and treating it more of a like seeing what pitch I want, being honest with myself. If I swung at the pitch in BP that I wanted to, even if it was a good swing or not, like making sure I was really diligent about that side of the work. But as you get older, you start to master things, and I think that's one thing as I get older, like I need to be better at. So if I were to be evaluating myself, it would be just the walk aspect, pitch recognition. But I still want to do damage, and I still know I can do damage. So sometimes you hit the ball out of the zone and it goes far. And sometimes you just swing and miss, but I definitely can be better in some parts.
When you talk to teams, are you talking playing first base? Or are you talking as DH, platoony DH kind of guy? What do you think your role would be better suited as? Because I'm sure you like to play first base, but if a team comes to you and says, hey, we want you to be our full-time DH, would you accept that?
I just want to play in the big leagues. I still, like I said, I know I can impact a team. I still believe in my glove. I still believe I can play the field. I got to be the biggest target in baseball to throw to at first base. So that's got to be a plus for some infielders. Still trust my hands, picking the ball, fielding ground balls, like working big on some first step stuff this offseason. But I think ultimately, like I would love to play first, but whatever a team needs me to do is I'm gonna do it. I just want to win games and impact the guys positively and be kind of a presence there, whether they need me to talk to the young players or just do whatever they need me to do. I'm down to do it.
Rowdy, you went from Seattle to Texas last year. Seattle was, this close to going to the World Series for the first time ever. Were you rooting for those guys? I know they let you go and you ended up in Texas. You ended up getting hot and having a great finish to the season. Did you root for them after you were let go?
I became close to a lot of those guys pretty fast. It's a really tight-knit group of guys over there. And, that was something that was special to watch for them, especially being as close as I was to some of those guys and watching them succeed. Obviously, Cal putting together probably most historic season as a catcher and them doing what they do. I love the staff over there. There was no hard feelings whatsoever. Like we all know the saying, if you don't like it, play better. And I could have played better to stay over there, but it wasn't in the cards. And, I wanted them to do what was best for them. And feels like every team I was on pretty much was in the postseason outside of the Rangers. Like Mariners were in there, Brewers were in there, Blue Jays were in there. So maybe I was like the magic thing. Maybe that was like 4 or 5 years ago with the Blue Jays, but could be a lasting effect. You never know.
Yeah, and you were getting a playoff bonus coming your way. So you wanted them to make it to the World Series. That was a nice December 7th paycheck, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was. That would have been nice to double dip, get some of that. Maybe some of the Rangers, 2 scoop. I'm not a 1 scoop guy. I'm a 2 scoop guy, and but you can't be too greedy. Sometimes that's all they got at the store. So, it was awesome. I was really appreciative for, the players and them doing that for me. So.
One of the teams that you have played on, you could actually join without signing with a big league organization. Any chance you're going to play for Team Mexico in the WBC or do you have to wait till you find a job first and then they call you?
I told them I would play, so that'll be coming up whenever. Was that March? We'll be in Houston. Really excited to be back with them. And when they called me right away, I said, yeah, I wanted to be a part of that. It was some outstanding baseball. That was fun. Great group of guys, great staff. It was one of those where it was like kind of like a special moment in baseball to get to represent my family, represent my country. Where all my family's from. And, I know it meant a lot for them to see Mexico on the front and our last name on the back. So sometimes it's bigger than baseball, and that meant a lot to my family. And to do that for my family was huge. And I really want to be a part of it and win it. We're returning pretty much everybody, and we're adding guys. So we're going to be a really good team again.
Okay, I'm going to be in Houston when you guys are there. Does that mean you're going to take me out to dinner and pay?
I'll take you out to dinner, but I won't pay. They usually say the veterans take care of the younger players, and in this case, you are a veteran.
So you're active. The active players also take care of the old, retired, broke players.
You have a job right now. I don't.
Yeah, but I'm not an active player.
Wait, but I want to
You're
know
under
who,
contract.
Maybe there's some other rich dudes that can take you out. So, because he said basically everyone's
Kirk.
back. So, like, is Randy Arozarena back? Alejandro Kirk back? Like, who are we talking here?
Yep, they will be there. They will be there. So, hey, you know what? Maybe we team up and we find somebody, and then we get what we want.
What do you want, Rowdy? What do you want? What do you want? A free meal?
I want food. Yeah. I'm kind of sitting here. I was supposed to be at home so I could be eating maybe on TV, but then they would probably make fun of me even more. So, but I'm just sitting here, hanging out, talking to my friends.
Don't let the haters hate. Yeah. Okay. Don't let the haters.
They can't get under my skin. I'm like it's a thick layer. Can't really get under there. I'm not like you. I'm not like you, AJ. You get offended really easy. You get a little sensitive on me. You're kind of like a jelly bean. Like you gotta. It's kind of hard on the outside, and then once you get inside, it's super soft. That's you, and that's what I do. I get right through that hard exterior, and I can get to your space and hurt your feelings a little bit, but it's okay.
That's okay. That's why you're going to buy me dinner, because you've hurt my feelings so many times. You're going to hurt my, and I'm assuming, listen, I've been to Houston a lot in my life because I've had to do a lot of Astros games over the years. They really do have great Mexican food there. So I figure if you're on Team Mexico, there's going to be a bunch of guys on that team that know where to go eat in Houston. And there's probably going to be some places that I haven't been. So I definitely am looking forward to those recommendations from you and your teammates.
And I'm pretty sure they have hamburgers and hot dogs for you Americans. So have fun.
No, I don't want that.
That's what you said. You said you. Yeah, it was tequila and fiesta the last time. You guys called me when I was out there.
That was awesome. Wait, so I'm looking back at the roster. I mean, there's some guys that have taken significant strides too. Like, this was 3 years ago. Jonathan Arenado was on that team. That's a very different player now.
Jaron Duran had like 2 at-bats. We had Jaron Duran, he had like 2 at-bats.
This team, dude, this roster looks good. Yeah, you mentioned Kirk and Randy. So you've got Duran, Rhonda.
They didn't ask me to play. They just said if I wanted to be on the team. So I might be coaching. I have no idea. You're starting to name off some guys that are really good. Yeah, it might be Benji's like right-hand man.
Yeah. What does this look like then? So Aranda, can Aranda play? He can play second.
I don't know what's going to happen. I just know that I'll be there, and hopefully somewhere in the middle of that lineup, putting together wins for Mexico and bringing a championship, down there.
Dude, this team is
Dude, you're a vibes guy now, Rowdy. You're a vibes guy. So maybe you might just be the hype man.
I might be. I might have to walk around with the boots and the sombrero like the guys were doing last year. That might be me. But you know what? I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say that's not going to be me. I'll be vibes on the field too.
You know how much money you would make if you walked up to the plate in a WBC game with a sombrero and boots on and hit a homer? Do you know how viral and how much money you would make off that?
They do that.
At bat?
They do that now. It's called banana ball.
I played. I've already done it. I already played. Oh, I sure did.
Yeah.
I look great in that yellow.
I know. Did you strap that catcher's gear on?
I think I did it. First one to ever
That
do
hurt
it.
a little bit, didn't it?
Nope, not one bit. Not
That,
one
yeah,
single
it
bit.
did. It hurt a little.
It
I
did
know
not.
the next day you were like, all
No.
right, knees are a little sore. We got some stuff
Nope.
going on, but don't act. You're
I'll
not.
tell you what
You're
was the only
not.
thing that was sore. I'll tell you what was sore. My shoulder, because I have not thrown a baseball in about 3 years. So when they told me I have to throw it to second, between innings, I told the pitcher, I go, listen, you're my cutoff guy, dude. So I'm just throwing it to you, and then you throw it to second. Because
You don't.
I don't
You
think I
don't
can make
throw
it
to
that
your
far.
dog, or you didn't hang out with
No.
your kids or anything.
No, my kid doesn't want to throw with me.
I wouldn't either. I'm going to be honest.
See?
But
His kid wants to do a derby with him.
I will-
actually.
Yeah, my kid challenged me to a home run
Yeah.
derby the other day, and I said, "Kid, you don't want smoke. You don't want that smoke."
do you think you could beat him?
Oh, without a doubt, I could probably beat you in a
did
home
you
run
show him-
derby.
Did you show? Let's not get carried away here. April Fools. Anywho, there's just because you bought a silver slugger in the back there and you started placing it up doesn't mean you still have pop.
Okay, never lose it. You never lose it. I'm just telling you, you never lose it.
I mean, at some point,
You
you have to
never
lose it.
had it.
Oh yeah, when you're. I remember Tony Oliva. Tony Oliva, when I first signed with the Twins, I don't know how old he was at the time. He went out there and he used to say, "Watch the snaky jump," because in Fort Myers back then there was just woods behind the fences in the minor leagues, and he would just hit home run after home run. He'd been retired for like 20 years at that point. And he's like, "You never
but
lose
he
it, kid."
was good. He was good.
I'm just saying. Watch the snaky jump, Rowdy.
All right. Well, when that happens, I'll come out there and I will watch.
No, you'll
I will
participate.
bring you your life. I'll
And
bring
then
you
we'll-
your life alert, and I'll wheel you out there like they do how they bring the towel and Gatorade. I'll bring you your life alert and your Pedialyte and make sure that you make it through the first 3 swings, and then we'll be good.
Whatever team you sign with, when you sign in spring training, we're doing a spring training tour, and I'm going to almost every camp. We'll just do it on a backfield before the show or after the show. We'll get someone out there to chuck us some balls. I'll throw to you.
It would be better if you came out like Johnny Knoxville, like the grandpa, and just looked really old and nobody knew like that was you, and then you did it. They'd be like, "Oh, that makes sense. Those rollovers and top spinners into the stands." Then they'd be like, "Okay." But if you come out like normal, they'd be like, "Wow, this is not a good look. This is sad for him."
Okay.
It's okay.
It's a deal.
You guys could have the
Hey,
you guys could have
in
the
the
home
la-
run derby on the.
In
Go
the
ahead.
last 7 years, I got more homers. Just want you to know that.
Well, I mean, I hope so. I hope so.
Just want you to know who's got more.
But I've won more home run derbies.
I think he's got more in the last.
Dude,
10
I've only
years.
been in. I think I've only been in one home run derby in pro ball.
Did you
It
lose?
was like A ball. Yeah.
Well, I won. The one I've been in, I've won.
I don't know. Yeah, I might have snap hooked one right into little Johnny in the foul territory. You know what they actually did? I'm not going to lie. They did it in low A, and we hit from center field so we could hit into the stands. Now that I remember it. And I did not do good.
That's exactly what
You
you
know
guys
who won
will do in
that?
your home run derby. You guys will hit on the half field at the spring training complex.
Yeah. My teammate won that. Ryan McBroom. He won that one. That was pretty cool.
McBoom. Yeah, what a name. He's now
Yeah.
selling. I'm not sure what he's selling, but he's doing his thing. He went over to Korea or Japan for a little bit. My question, you were in 2 clubhouses. One clubhouse, Seattle Mariners, you had Big Dumper, you had J.P. Crawford, you had Julio Rodriguez, and you were in the Rangers clubhouse. We've heard stories that the Rangers clubhouse was a little just like everybody like did their own thing, and then the game happened, and then they all came together. Did you see that in the 2, and did you see differences in the 2 clubhouses?
Honestly, I didn't see it a ton. I'm kind of like a social butterfly. I talked to everybody, hung out with everybody, played cards with everybody. I didn't see a ton of that. So I'm kind of neutral when it comes to everything. People could say a lot of things about clubhouses. I'm like, I don't know. I didn't see it. I don't pay attention. I'm just out there trying to beat Jock and cards and take Marcus's money. So that was it.
Makes sense. I'm just gonna hold.
You go to that, Cam.
What does that say?
Home Run Derby champion 2018 Hall of Fame Classic. Cooperstown, New
I
York.
can't read that. Oh, you were hitting on
there's a
200
half
foot
field.
fences.
Hall
That
of
is a
Fame
half
That was
club.
a
field.
half field game. That was your
It is
game when you
too.
played anyway. Let's be honest. You were just a peppered over second and short. I watched. I was a fan growing up. Won't admit it again, but you heard it once.
Saying I could still do it. I'm just saying.
Well,
saying.
we missed this back and
Still
forth.
do it.
We missed this.
I'll tell you
so.
what, hitting is not like riding a bike. So, and I know you can't do that either. I'm staring at your shirt. It's a little trying to cover stuff up.
Mm.
All right. Well, here's the deal, Rowdy.
I
Obviously,
mean, they're not Scott size, but they're not bad.
No, AJ's
Oh,
big
that's
boy.
because Bronny wears a kid's XL.
I wear
And
larges now.
he has
I grew up.
inflatable
Kids.
muscle. No,
This is large now. This
kids
is large.
larges. Yeah,
Kids large. It's
he
baby
went
girl.
even
I've been-
smaller. He went even smaller.
Wait,
Nice
this is
try.
kids large? I didn't know that. Damn it. Anyway,
Still bad.
Rowdy. So this is the deal because I figured, but I wanted to make sure you're in for WBC. So we'll have a live report from Rowdy at some point during the World Baseball Classic. I'm looking forward to it. So
We will. I'll be
we
there.
will do a check-in. Okay, good. I'm very
Fiesta.
excited about this. Yes,
Tequila.
the Fiesta
tequila.
report presented by Rowdy
Fiesta
Tellez
report, there
coming
it is.
soon. Yes, 1 month away. Well, good catching up, dude. You can hit the road again, and we'll talk in a month or so.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Thank you, Rowdy. Good catching up, man. That's Rowdy Tellez.
All right.
And here we are. We're back. Actually, there is a fresh rumor, and we know we love a good rumor.
Can you
this time
center
of year.
yourself in that camera? It's making me seasick.
Where do you want me to be?
There you
Here?
go, in the middle.
Right here? Okay. Right here.
Center.
Fresh report that just came out from one of our insiders, and let's hit it. Fan-sided insider and FT insider Robert Murray reporting the Mets have offered $50 million per season to Kyle Tucker on a short-term contract. We don't know the years, but $50 million. Didn't we talk to Ken earlier? And he was alluding to Will Salmon on maybe 3 years. So if we want to guess, maybe 3 years, 150.
Is there opt-outs?
There's definitely opt-outs. Oh my gosh.
Then
This
why
is a
wouldn't you
guy
sign
that
that?
entered the
Why
offseason.
wouldn't you just take 1 year 50, have a good year, and then redo it like everyone else has done?
What if the Blue Jays are offering 300? Do you
I
want
don't know.
3 years,
That's-
150,
again, how
or
much do you
6
trust
years,
yourself?
300?
How much do you trust yourself?
What
How
would
much
you
believe in
do?
yourself?
What would you do? Okay.
If I had 6 years, 300 on the table, and 3 years, 150.
Well, I'll say like 8 years, 300, because
Oh.
otherwise the AAV doesn't match up. Yeah. But 8 years, 300, or 3 years, 150.
I'd take the 8 years.
Kratz?
It's going to be more like 10 years, 300. I would take the 10 years, 300.
Yeah.
Like, the guy's been hurt.
Okay.
The guy's missed. He played hurt. He's like, well, that didn't work out. I was having an awesome year, and then I had to play through the injury. And the year before, he was having MVP start to the year, and then he got hurt. I'm not saying don't bet on yourself. It's not at all saying don't you believe in yourself, but anybody that says I'll just go 1 year deals, if you get $50 million a year for the next 10 years, absolutely. But $300 million for 10 years, yes, please.
Agreed. By the way, the spreading rumors little thingamajigger front end, FE that you guys call it front end, is that chunky peanut butter? Because nobody really likes chunky peanut butter, do they?
If
Oh,
you have a
stop.
request for smooth, then you can make that request.
Who likes chunky? Nobody likes because they get the little chunks get stuck in your teeth and stuff. Like chunky peanut butter is not where it's at, guys.
No, I like smooth.
Yeah,
I agree
everyone
with
likes
you.
Delicious.
smooth.
Delicious. Not that I picked chunky, but chunky is still delicious. Everybody
Yeah, but it
loves
gets stuck
smooth.
in your teeth, and then you got to get a tooth. It's not where it's
Just
at.
chew it more. It's good.
Okay, it's not where it's at.
Is the market telling us that they feel as if Kyle Tucker still has to prove something?
Yes, because the last 2 years he's been
No.
hurt, and he had no. It is telling us that. It is. If he hasn't gotten the 10-year, $400 million, whatever it is that they were supposed to talk about, that everyone said he thought he would get going into the offseason, and if he has to settle for a short-term deal, it told Pete Alonso it wasn't there. It told Alex Bregman it wasn't there. It told Matt Chapman it wasn't there. It told Blake Snell it wasn't there. Like all these guys, it's told that the market's not there. Like Kratz talked about earlier with Ken Rosenthal. You got to take what you get, and if you can get 150 with opt out after year 1 and year 2, and you can go 2 years and get 100 and then be 31 years old and maybe get another 4 or 5 year deal. If there's nothing else out there, you grab that and you go. Go to Port St. Lucie and smile.
I still think the Blue Jays have a longer-term offer going his way. I don't think the Blue Jays are operating like the Mets and the Dodgers where they do the short-term AAV and the contract looks, like an opt-out situation. So I know you guys say he was hurt, right? 2 years ago, I get it. 78 games, that's about half of a season, although using metrics that front offices like, I know you guys were playing the war game all day yesterday, he was almost a 5-win player in the season that he was hurt. 10-win player is insane, right? And that was the season that he was hurt. And the seasons before that, he was pretty solid games played and a 5+ win player, 157, 150, 140. This past season, I know he dealt with, what was it, the heel? Calf. 136 games played, 597 plate appearances, 266 average, 377 on base, 464 slugging, 841 OPS, 143 OPS plus. Don't discount that the Cubs ballpark played very pitcher friendly this past season. It's not like you looked and said, oh man, this guy's got to prove it. I mean, Alex Bregman didn't have to prove it. Kyle Tucker had a much better season than him, and he's younger than him. So why does Kyle Tucker have to prove himself after an age 28 season like that?
Because the market tells him he does.
Okay.
That's why there's no other reason he shouldn't have to. But if the market dictates what you're worth.
So you have a 1-year contract to prove it, and you're going to go to a team that is in a, at least top 10 pitcher's ballpark and just lost quite a bit of ammo.
If it's the best offer you got, then yes.
I'm not saying they're bad. Obviously, the Mets should be a contender, but they certainly have lost quite a few pieces. Yeah, you've got Soto, you've got Lindor, but is that the selection that you make in a high-pressure environment?
If it's your best opportunity, yes.
I don't think that's his best opportunity.
Okay.
I think the Dodgers are throwing something out there similar, and the Blue Jays. Here's the thing, and I've said this multiple times, and I continue to believe this. Does Kyle Tucker not want to go to Toronto? I have it in my head. They definitely have the best offer, and it's a longer-term offer. I don't know how long, but there's definitely something there. I don't think the Blue Jays fuck around. Do you? Tell me I'm wrong. I don't think they're messing around here. I don't think it's like, oh, well, the Blue Jays only threw him 3 years.
Okay, if it's not the Blue Jays or the Mets, then who else?
Well,
Yankees don't seem interested.
Those 3 teams are clearly the teams involved. The Mets, the Dodgers, and the Blue Jays.
The Dodgers don't have a history of throwing long-term contracts out there, so I don't think that he's
The Dodgers are doing the same thing as the Mets. Yeah. They're saying, hey, if you want to come here, we'll pay you a lot for a season, and then you hit free agency again. We'll give you 1, 2, or 3 years. That's probably what they're saying. The Mets are going, hey, I mean, here's my guess. Ready? Dodgers are throwing 2 or 3 years at, I don't know, 40-ish a year. Mets are like, cool, we love the Dodgers. We want to do what they're doing. We'll do 3 years, $50 million a year. And then I think he's had an offer, or at least a conversation about an offer from the Blue Jays for a while now about a longer-term contract. Kratz, what do you think?
I think if it is in this range, if it's $50 million for not 1 year, but if it's $50 million for 3 years, I don't see how the Mets take this down. Because my assumption would be the Dodgers would say, Teo, you're moving over to left field. We were willing to put $20 million into Michael Conforto for a single season. We'll definitely do a single season type of contract and put you in right field. I think it's so. To me, if this is where he's at and he doesn't want to take, say, 7 years, 220 from the Blue Jays, just speculating, just questioning, then I mean, I think the Dodgers would take this down. I think the Dodgers would take it down over the Mets. I don't think that number could get too high for the Dodgers in a 1 year thing. And I think that's where he would get. My guess is that's where he would want to go over the Mets.
Front offices do a great job of analyzing and really picking apart players, right? Oh, this part's great, but we hate this part of him. I mean, that's common. That's what they do, especially nowadays in free agency with almost everyone. There are 2 players in the sport that have about an even strikeout to walk ratio over the last 2 years with a 500+ slugging percentage. It's Kyle Tucker and Juan Soto. Juan Soto received a lot of love last offseason. What am I missing here? You think it's just injury related? Teams are not trusting the durability suddenly over the past couple years? It's not like he didn't play last year. I mean, almost 600 plate appearances.
I don't know.
Collusion.
I don't know why he's not getting the money.
Just doesn't have the right suitors right now?
I don't know. Yeah, sometimes it comes down to who's after you. I don't know.
Right.
I wish I knew the answer to that, Scott, because I want every player to get every dollar they can.
This is a confusing one for me. Okay.
I don't
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't. You can make any reason to say yes, he's not worth it. You made reasons. AJ made some very valid points of why Juan Soto shouldn't get the money that he got. It takes one owner to say yes, I'll go ahead. You know, before Soto signed, we were like, come on, over $700 million. That's a crazy number. Like, how can you lock up one guy for over $700 million? How can you give Kyle Tucker $400 million? Like, to me, I truly thought he was a 10-year, $340 to $350 million type of player. That's what I thought. That's what I thought the consistency was. Plays an all-around game. People say he's hurt. I'd be like, all right, well, where else are you going to get this high of a ceiling from any player? And right now, teams are not bouncing in that category. And I think your first question was, do you think teams don't believe in him? Or I forget exactly what you said, Scott. But to me, I think he's overvalued by the market in the sense of they're not willing to, or he's overvalued himself in the market, where if a team has come to him and said, we'll give you $240 million, he says, I mean, unless his number starts at 3, I don't even want to talk. Obviously, we don't know what's going on in those conversations.
And hey, maybe he does take $50 million for this season, crushes it with a team, and then the right suitor comes to mind. Sometimes it's not about the platform season, but it's also about the market, right? There's a team that really needs, a star outfielder. It just seems like some of those teams aren't in play for him. And it's a large ask if he is in the 300 plus range. There are just not many teams that want to dance like that right now in general in baseball. No teams are forced to do that. Okay, let's get to the next rumor. Cody Bellinger conversations continuing with the Yankees. John Heyman reports this morning that talks have continued into this week. The Yankees are trying to bridge the gap in years by enhancing their latest offer, which is a 5-year offer. They're offering an opt-out. They're offering a nice signing bonus. They're offering no deferrals. Parties have possible options, but effort being made to stay together. I continue to think this is the marriage that stays strong.
Yeah, agreed. Mm-hmm. Both sides need each other.
Yeah. And you can up things. I don't know, does the opt-out do anything for you? I guess if it's after 1 year and he bangs again, and I don't know how
I just don't know if he wants to go
Yankees
through it
feel.
again because he's done it for 3
Right.
years now.
Yeah.
I don't know that he wants to do that again.
I know. But if it's that same, let's say he can't get the 6th year, it just can't figure it out with another team, whatever, and it's 5. And then he says, cool, well, I want an opt-out in case I have another superstar season, and then things change with the next CBA. He could do that. Yeah. The Yankees might be like, well, we're committing 5 years plus. Like,
I don't want to give you.
You don't want to do that.
Maybe they'd say opt-out after year 3.
Right. But then his free agency is not looked at the same way at that age.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
I don't know. Bellinger's an interesting one because this goes back to what other teams are interested.
At that
all
level,
we've really heard is Yankees.
Mm-hmm. At that level, I'm not sure. Clearly the Mets like Kyle Tucker a lot more than Cody Bellinger. Yes. I think that's evident.
You mentioned the Angels, but would they want to do that? Dodgers, would they want to bring him back? He was already there and they didn't bring him back.
He's going to cost potentially $5,150, which is the same that the Mets probably are offering Kyle Tucker over 3 years right now with an opt-out. But Tucker is a better player, better track record. So we'll see. This is interesting. This is heating up.
Why not the Mets? Why not the Mets? Jorge Polanco is the answer at first base. Like they have a pseudo, they have a need in center field. Is it the years? Is it 5 years? Is it the look that, whoa. You gave Cody Bellinger 6 years to get him over there. Why couldn't you have given Pete money? Like, to me, I think the market should be out there for Cody. Because the whole time it was like the end of his LA career. You look at his WAR the last 3 years, you look at his OPS plus, it was 112, 44, both injury shortened years, and then 81 OPS plus. Yes, he had to rebuild his value. But how many times does Cody Bellinger say, dang on, how many times do I have to rebuild my value?
I feel you. I mean, hey, remember, the Cubs traded him to the Yankees a year ago, and they had to eat some money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, things can change very quickly up and down to the free agent.
By the way, speaking of all, we're spreading rumors. We haven't heard any Framber Valdez rumors.
Not
Very
much.
few Rangers Suarez rumors.
Orioles and Mets have been linked to those two for a long time.
But nothing like.
They're in a stalemate. You know why? Because they think that they need to get closer to the Dylan Cease contract, and they're not going to.
It's not going to happen.
They're not. I'm telling you.
Those are some pretty big names that just haven't even really. I mean, we haven't talked about a ton.
Those deals are not going to be as big. I think with Suarez, it's some injury history, and with Valdez, it's other things that we've talked about in the past. Let's get to one more rumor before we finish up. This is a juicy one. Jeff Passan reporting the Giants are aggressively pursuing a second baseman and have been engaged in talks with the Cubs on Nico Horner and the Cardinals on Brendan Donovan, an infield of Matt Chapman, Willie Adames, and either Donovan or Horner, plus Rafael Devers, would be among Major League Baseball's best. Now we're talking Giants. Hello, welcome to the offseason. This is definitely something they should be doing, and I think that they probably land Brendan Donovan if they're serious. I don't think the Cubs are going to trade Nico Horner, but Donovan would be a great fit out there in San Francisco.
And guess where Nico Horner's from?
Is he from that area?
He's from the Bay Area.
Yeah.
He went to Stanford.
But it's not up to him. I mean, the Cubs are going to ask for a boatload of prospects. And if I'm the Cubs, I do not disrupt that. Just flow right into the season.
I'm not saying they are, but if they do, I mean, this would be San Francisco would be a nice landing spot for Nico Horner.
It would, but the Cardinals want to trade Brendan Donovan. I don't think that the Cubs want to trade Nico Horner. They're just doing their job to listen. So that's why I wore this shirt today.
Well, you want him to do something?
SplashHitTerritoryShop.com. All right. What is this? A little schmutz on
No, he wore it because they woke up. He wore it because they woke up and they have a chance to do something. But both those guys would be awesome types of players in San Francisco. Yes, Willie Adames went out and hit his 30 dingers. Yes, Rafi Devers is going to hit 30 dingers next year in San Francisco, which is a tough power park. We get that. But two guys in Brendan Donovan and Nico Horner, if they could land one of those guys, to me, they go and get value from a guy more than if he were to go play at another, one of those guys would go play at another home run friendly park. Like those guys put the ball in play. They know how to hit. It's the hit tool that very few guys have right now and very few guys know how to use. So to me, I love that if Buster Posey's going after that type of player, yes, awesome. Because you get like a Ketel Marte, not that he would go from the Diamondbacks to the Giants, but then it's like, okay, does his power get squashed a little bit in San Francisco for 81 games? I tend to think yes, but he's a big doubles guy too. But I would love both of those guys playing at second base for the Giants.
It appears the Giants are done on the starting pitching side. So it's Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, Tyler Mahle, who they signed, Adrian Hauser, who they signed, and Landon Rupp. And then Rupp, whatever. Lineup-wise, they're missing a bat. Jung-Hoo Lee, Willie Adames, I'm just going through the fan graphs 1 through 9. Devers, Chapman, Ramos had a nice season. Bryce Eldridge, I guess they have put a DH right now. Is a rookie DH. And then Casey Schmidt is put in at second base. That could be your utility. Patrick Bailey, who hasn't shown the bat, but obviously is an amazing defender. And then they got Luis Matos right now in right field. They're a bat short. That would lengthen the lineup quite a bit. Donovan at second and can float around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm into it. Go get it done, San Francisco. They're asking for a lot, and you're going to have to give up a lot. All right, let's slap. Couple things. Number one, congratulations to Bucko Territory, our pirate show, which is, a month old? They have 1,000 subs. That's a big accomplishment. Once you get to 1,000, you can start playing ball. Splash Hit's got 1,000 too. They started around the same time. You want to see this job opening and see if anyone's interested?
I actually want to take this job.
Oh, you do? How far away is it?
Not far. Jupiter, 2 hours.
2 hours? Okay. So the
Commuter?
Marlins, have a minor league manager.
It's for the Florida Complex League.
Yep. And it pays between $40K and $80K, depending on your experience.
wide.
Plus full benefits.
It's a wide
That's why-
range. I'd probably have to go for the 80K.
Yeah. I'll be your agent on that one. No fee. $2,500 living stipend, $100 cell phone stipend in season, only in season, and they take the phone back. $1,000 continuing education stipend. So the whole job opening is posted on Teamwork online if you're interested.
Does
really hard.
Does AJ Przinsky get that job if he applies for it?
No chance.
No chance you get that job.
No
Sorry,
chance.
AJ. Like,
Not
there's
qualified.
not one way.
Not qualified.
Not qualified. And some people would say overqualified. Some people would say underqualified. I would just love to be in the room when you have the interview. So can we do like a hidden boss video? Like AJ
They'll do a Zoom.
Przinsky rolling into the Marlins complex on the minor league side. Like you don't even know where the minor league side is. Like you're
I
like,
did this, by
can
the
you
way.
guys come to the big league side and interview me over here?
I was interviewed by the Marlins years ago for a broadcaster job. And Derek Jeter was on the call but didn't want anyone to know he was on the call. I know that for a fact. Someone who was with him told me after the fact. I'm like, you don't want to give me a little love and say hi? Just wanted to listen. So Kratz can do that for you if you do a Zoom call and just be like, hey guys, just me here. And Kratz is like, what are they saying? So it's a real thing. Jeter did it. That's a true story.
I'm just Florida Complex League. I mean, I played in the Gulf Coast League back in the day. I played in the Florida Complex League. I have experience.
That's
I
it.
did not.
They have a really hard time of filling this job a lot of times because
That's
that league
crazy.
sucks.
Oh, because it's
Noon
tough.
games in the middle of summer in Florida.
If you want to get into the coaching world in baseball,
It's a good place to start.
this is where you
But
start.
that year is going to suck because you're up at 6 a.m. and you're having to babysit 18, 17, 18-year-old kids.
No state income tax.
And you
$100
You-
stipend.
The cell phone is with you for like 5 months.
Not even because the Florida Complex League is only like June and July.
No, it's longer than
I'm
that.
sure you run extended too. I'm sure you run
Yeah.
extended. There's no
Yeah.
way.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
paying-
They're not giving you
I'm not.
40
You know
to
why I'm
80
not
for 2
applying
months.
because I never had to go to extended. I'm one of my prouder moments of my career is I was a high school draft pick and I did not have to go to extended spring training.
That is
That's
that
a
is
big
a
deal.
whole show.
Scott's looking at me like I don't get it.
No, I
Trust
get
me.
it.
Every guy that I think I was drafted with out of high school had to go to extended spring training,
Mhm.
and I luckily was fortunate enough to skip that.
Life was tough for a young AJ Przinsky. You skipped
Whoever
it, so
gets-
now he's not hired. I was about to hire him, and now we're actually revoking his manager role. So he's staying on FT. We did all of that.
Whoever gets that job is going to sweat like Max Kepler at a drug test. I mean, just sweat time
Oh.
all day.
Show your hat on the way out. I won't say anything, but you got
I mean,
last
I thought
word.
this was the team that had the biggest news today, but maybe I was wrong. The Diamondbacks.